It was nice of Konami to give me a reason to go back and visit the Tachyon deck with the inclusion of the brand new number S38. So S38 is an evolution onto the existing number 38 that allows you sort of going second or even sort of follow up turn 3 potential to help break boards by destroying opponent's back row. And by destroying, I mean targeting and absorbing up to 2 spells or traps your opponent controls, while restricting your opponent's ability to activate those cards in response to being targeted. So it's a really good way of sucking up a couple of your opponent's back row cards that will either A, prevent them from using them against you during your turn, or so think like Lab, think Drill Beam, think the True Light, all of these sort of continuous cards, but also limiting your opponent's follow-up, because there are a lot of decks in the format right now that rely upon certain continuous key cards like field spells, spells or traps that will help them bounce back during their following turns. So S38 is really solid in that regard, because it helps destroy either decks that rely upon back row for interruption or decks that rely upon back row for follow-up going into turn 4, possibly even turn 5. And the original number you need to summon, number 38, was already a card that this deck was not only A, capable of summoning multiple copies of very easily, but B, a really powerful card going first. So basically, Hope, Harbinger, Titanic Dragon Galaxy, is a really good card to summon when you're going first, and then whenever it comes to your follow-up turn, you can rank them up into the S38, and suddenly you've got a really nice sort of aggressive monster on the board instead. So ultimately, really cool card. Being able to finally play this deck on the channel is great. I was recording with this, and I'm going to be honest, it was a joke how easy we were winning with this. And the deck's really straightforward. It's not that stressful to play. There's no crazy long combos or anything like that. So it really is a bit of a change of pace. All of the cards you're summoning are super fucking cool. Tachyon Transmigration, this card is broken, and being able to abuse the hell out of it has been a blast. Really nice capacity for non-engine as well. I'm going to go through the deck card for card at the end of the video and sort of talk more about considerations you can make and particular combos and such, although there really isn't all that many of them. As well as some of the other new cards, such as, you know, the Revelation of Hope and Galaxy Journey, and other things you can potentially consider as well. So we're going to get into some gameplay. I've got about 4 replays saved up here so you can see the deck in action. It covers off a lot of the main combos, as well as showing off the particular interactions with the S38 and some of the other cards, as well as just how the deck performs overall. So if you're interested in this style of content or anything else, of course, that we do here, make sure you're subscribed to catch stuff as it comes out. Like this video, and let's get into those replays. Alrighty, getting into our first replay here, going second, which is fine. The deck doesn't love going second, but it's definitely a lot better with going second than a lot of other decks are. This is going to be against Centurion here. We are going to go for the Ghost Ogre on the Centurion's effect, which is just fine. So when it comes to the True Dea, an important thing to remember about the Centurion cards is that oftentimes when they use their on-field monster effect, they cannot summon additional copies of themselves throughout the rest of the turn. So it's not a massive concern. That means no more summoning True Dea this turn. So depending on how this goes, our opponent does have the Centurion Bonds here, which he grabs off the Primera. So Bonds is going to try and bring back the True Dea from the graveyard. He's probably going to go through Primus to try and do some stuff. But he just happened to have another True Dea in the hand, so it didn't really matter all that much. Although it means that he's pretty limited in terms of what he can do during our turn. Pretty much Primus or Legacia for a singular interruption. So not a lot of competition from our opponent here. That Ghost Ogre definitely put in some big work. We're going to activate Branded Regain just so that it's active and on the field. We are going to be abusing this Drissworm later in the turn, but for now what we're going to be using, the fact that he goes for the True Dea, and then True Dea plus the Primera goes into the, I can only imagine, sorry, he went for Auxilia because Legacia, while yes, it would have popped our Drissworm, it would simply have caused the Legacia to get sent to the graveyard. So I guess he's trying to preserve the Auxilia for as long as he possibly can. Bond's going to reset up the Primera here while he's searching his deck for the follow-up in the form of Wake Up Centurion. So he's setting himself up for next turn. We're going to go for the Limit Dragon here. Unfortunately, our Infinity Dragon does get asked. The fact that this card is ashable is definitely a bit of a pain for the deck. It is your best starter by a mile, but we do have Seifert, which is a close second. Seifert then going to send itself to the graveyard to search our deck for a level 4 dragon. He's going to summon the Primera. I can only imagine to get an additional search or something. We're going to grab the Tachyon Cloud Dragon, which is basically like a Poplar in that it's going to special summon itself out from the hand when added to the hand. So he's going to search his deck for another True Day. Again, just grabbing himself follow-up. He's just trying to survive the turn to get some gaming done on his turn. We're going to tribute off the Cloud Dragon to summon out the Primal. Primal then is going to search for 7th Tachyon here. 7th Tachyon, we're going to reveal an 8 to grab an 8. So we decide this is a bit of a greedier play for going second. You don't have to do this. Typically, you would just grab like Transmigration or something. But we are going to do this to put the additional level 8 bodies on the board. We're going to go Nebula and the Infinity Dragon into a rank 8. We're going to go into the Dragluxion. So the Nebula Dragon, this is why we're playing the one of Nebula, specifically for plays like this. We're going to grab another copy of Primal. We're going to use Primal's effect. We're going to summon it to our opponent's field, actually, so we can get an additional search. The Transmigration, then, we're going to use the Shadow Dragon to tag itself out into number 107. And the reason we did it this way is because the Primal in his field then giving us the Omni Negate is going to be vital for our sort of OTK potential. We're going to grab back the Seyfried here from the graveyard. We're going to go Brand It Regained. Nebula Dragon, again, being able to recycle cards from the graveyard is very nice. We happen to top deck into the Spiral Dragon, which is pretty huge. We didn't need this, but it is very, very big because it allows us to go for number 62, the Galaxy Eyes Prime Photon Dragon, which we're going to immediately then rank up into number C62, the Neo Galaxy Eyes Prime Photon Dragon, which is one of the strongest OTK tools in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! We're going to detach a material which allows us to attack up to 3 monsters. I don't think we have enough on board for lethal here, but we're definitely putting ourselves in a very good position in terms of interruption and follow-up. We don't have a ton, but we used a lot of our resources to whittle down that which our opponent actually possesses. So what our opponent's going to be capable of here is going to be relatively limited, except he just happens to have Super Poly off the top of the deck. We know that he drew that card. Super Poly off the top of the deck into the Garura is definitely going to be a pain because that means our Transmigration is now dead. They're going to go for Primera, summoning it out to the field. Primera then searching their deck for an additional card, grabbing the Gargoyle. Gargoyle then going to be activated, sending the Trudea to the graveyard to summon itself out to the field. That's going to trigger Wake Up Centurion, or sorry, we're just going to use Wake Up Centurion, sending Phalanx. Phalanx then going to activate to bring back the Auxilia. So suddenly our opponent put themselves back in the game. That Super Poly top deck is exactly what they needed. The Auxilia is going to search their deck for another card. They're going to go now for Primera and Gargoyle into Legacia. Legacia then is going to be popping a card on our field and drawing him an additional card. I'm assuming he wants to just take the L on the Dressworm here, but utilize the draw one to play through the sending of a card to the graveyard. It just nets him some additional advantage. No point in him committing to something unnecessarily. He's going to go for the Auxilia and the Garura into SP Little Knight, I suppose, as some form of interruption here. He's going to go SP Little Knight. I'm assuming to banish a card out of our graveyard. Sorry, no, he's going to banish our Brand It Regained. We're going to get one more usage out of the Brand It Regained, bringing back the Dressworm here. Could just be a desperate attempt to prevent some sort of follow-up here. I guess the Auxilia and the Garura had served its purpose. He gets one additional draw. That's 2 draws off of this turn. Now he's going to go SP Little Knight into an Exceed Summon for Typhon. Typhon rearing its head yet again. Our opponent, basically, from that turn, was using just their Centurion resources to draw a bunch of cards and get as much off of my board as they possibly could, which was very successful. But we did add Seyfried back to our hand last turn. He's going to go for Max C here. I don't really care about that. We're going to go for the Seyfried, grabbing another Cloud Dragon, and we're just going to do the same combo again after the Nebula Dragon had recycled our Seyfried back to the hand. That's one of the big points of value. We're actually going to go Cloud Dragon. It can summon any Tachyon monster from the deck, hand, or graveyard. So we're actually going to grab 107 because we knew he had the Phalanx set after having searched it off of the Auxilia. So that means we got the Transmigration active and live immediately, and we've got a second copy of it in our hand as well. We're going to attach a material on of the Cloud Dragon from our graveyard. We're going to go Seyfried, banishing itself to grab ourselves Primal from the graveyard as well. Now, of course, we cannot use the Primal right now because Typhon is currently restricting our ability to use the effects of monsters that have more than 3,000 attack points. So we're going to go into the Full Armor Photon Dragon, taking out his monster. Then the Full Armor Photon Dragon is going to detach a material to take out Stand-Up Centurion, and that's when he hits us with the Ghost Ogre. So that is a little bit unfortunate. We're going to chain the Primal then to the Ghost Ogre. We're going to summon out the Primal to the field. Again, we are under Max C, which is definitely a huge pain, but it is what it is. We get rid of the field spell. Tachyon, going to grab ourselves an additional copy of Transmigration. We're going to set 2 and pass. We cannot use it from hand if we do not control number 107. but we do have the ability to use it on the field, so long as we control a Galaxy Eyes monster, which we currently do. He's going to set up Achi from his field. Achi then going to summon itself out to the field, going to go for Gargoyle, sending stand-up Centurion to the graveyard. I'm going to get ahead of this being a problem right now, and I'm just going to negate that Gargoyle's effect. What we're doing is we're saving our negates for his ability to put non-tuners on board. He's already used the effect of stand-up, so that's fine. Again, I know the Centurion matchup pretty well, so you only really need to restrict certain parts of their movement. We're going to swing in for 12 over the Atri here. And unfortunately, our opponent gets one last turn out of this. So let's see if they can top deck anything that might help them out here. They're going to go for Gargoyle. Yet again, we knew they had the Gargoyle. We're going to let him summon it this time because he doesn't have a tuner. You only really need to prevent them from having both. So I don't need to negate it this time because he doesn't already have a tuner. We would have saved the Transmigration instead for a tuner. So now we're going to go for the Scorch Dragon and the Nebula Dragon. Bring back Galactic Spiral from the graveyard now that we control a sufficient number of monsters. We're going to go in for an Exceed Summon into a number 38 Hope Harbinger Titanic Galaxy, immediately ranking up the number 38 into, of course, the man of the hour, the number S38, using its effect, not using its effect, sorry. Going for Nibiru from our opponent here, we're going to go for Transmigration, negating the Nibiru, which is very good. Of course, having those set Omni negates is very useful. Number S38, absorbing now the 2 back row cards from our opponent, and that is the straw that broke the camel's back. And there you go. What more do you want? We saw 107 and the Transmigration plays. We saw number Chaos 62. We saw S38 rearing its head. That was a pretty good game. Definitely some dicey moments. Our opponent got really lucky with that Super Poly off the top. And they were trying, I think, to win a war of attrition, trying to draw themselves into hand traps like Maxi, and then using the Maxi to try and win. But luckily, Transmigration is a powerful enough card to where if you have sufficient knowledge of the matchup, you're able to control specifically which parts of the matchup that you struggle with. And Centurion is a relatively easy deck to learn. So as long as you're specifically keeping an eye out for what's going to give you a problem when you're against something like Centurion, you don't need to like blow your negates every single time they activate a card. That's how you lose. So yeah, pretty good match. Fun one. Match 2. Alright, getting into our second game here. We are going first this time. We're going to start off with the Seifert. So I typically start with Seifert rather than Cloud Dragon if given the option, although it doesn't come up very often. We're going to trigger off the Cloud Dragon here. They're going to go for Droll and Lockbird. Droll and Lockbird is a massive threat. We cannot allow that to resolve, so we are going to go for Called by the Grave. Luckily, we had the out in hand. Thank Christ. So we're going to go for Cloud Dragon here, and it is something worth noting is the deck does have a pretty good capacity for non-engine. That definitely does come up. We're going to go Cloud Dragon, then tripping itself, we're going to go into the Tachyon Primal. Primal then searching our deck for the 7th Tachyon so we can get our hands on an actual starter. 7th Tachyon revealing 107 to grab ourselves the Bestial Lubellion. You get a couple of really good options there that you can grab off of this card. I personally went for the Bestial Lubellion because I kind of value the Regained that we're going to be seeing here. So we're going to banish the Cloud Dragon to summon the Magnamut. Magnamut then gets tributed for the Lubellion, so we get Regained out of this as well as a follow-up Bestial for the end phase, and we still get our level 8 on the board to go into the Shadow Dragon, the Dragluxion. So I do like the Bestial Lubellion there. We're going to go Transmigration off of this guy because we kind of already have everything we need. We're going to detach 2. We're going to go into number 107, which gives us an Omni Negate on the board in the form 107. Now we're going to go for Seifert. Seifert then going to banish itself from the graveyard to grab Primal back to our hand. We're going to use the Branded Regain to shuffle back the Seifert to draw a card. We draw in the another Cloud Dragon, which is whatever. We're going to summon now the Tachyon Primal to use Revelation of Hope to immediately rank it up into a rank 8 monster. We're going to go for the Hope Harbinger. So Revelation of Hope, a really good card at taking advantage of those leftover level 8s that you're able to put your hands on. Very good spell. I'll currently play it at 1, definitely considering playing it at more than 1. They're going to go for the Sengenjin. We're going to let him play it and let him pay his cost before absorbing that card. Very, very powerful card. So we're going to get ahead of that being a problem. He's not going to go for Crystron Inclusion. So very good bait from our opponent there. The Inclusion definitely would have been a better negate. The Crystron deck is definitely pretty good. So we're gonna have to manage this matchup pretty closely. They're gonna go for Sulfador to send 2. We're gonna go Magnamut back from the graveyard off of Regained here. Gonna send Smiger and the Turtle. Magnamut gonna grab us another Bestial during the end phase. Unfortunately, Bestial's not being super useful in this matchup. Now he's going to go for Skeletus here. This is when we're going to go for, well, we're going to go for the Dressworm first and foremost to banish off the Primal. Then we're going to go Tachyon Transmigration. What's worth noting is that while this card, of course, needs to be used as chain link 2 or higher, it doesn't actually negate the card that you chain it to. What it does is it negates the activations of all cards your opponent controls in the chain in which it was activated, so you can absolutely chain Tachyon Transmigration to your own cards. If you want to activate a card and then like test to see if they have a response to your card. So for example, I go for Drissworm here and then he counters with a Max C, and then I can go Transmigration to negate both the Max C and the Skeletus, right? So there's definitely a lot of value there. If you can, try to activate your own cards in the same chain in which you're going to be using Transmigration to bait out additional response from your opponent and to try and negate as many cards as possible. Small thing, but I didn't realize that at first, but it's definitely very, very good. So we're going to send that back to deck. And the reason Skeletus was the negate is now without a Synchro Monster on his field to target off of the Tristaros, he's going to find it very hard to continue his combo from here. It doesn't matter that he's got Smiger and this turtle and stuff in the graveyard. The Skeletus being off the field, meaning he doesn't get his search, his recycling, and he doesn't have a target for the Tristaros, and the Skeletus' destruction effect itself presents so much value to Cristrons that, again, it's one of those instances where if you know the matchup, you kind of know what cards to hit and you know exactly how to shut your opponent down. So Transmigration on Skeletus is pretty detrimental. Very solid matchup. Good stuff. Love to see it. Next game. Alrighty, getting into the next matchup. This one's going to be good. This is pretty much going to show the deck as powerful as I've gotten it. So we're going to go for the Infinity Dragon, summoning the Galactic Spiral Dragon from the deck as well as itself in the hand. We're going to go into the Dragluxion. Dragluxion then going to activate to search our deck for a card. We're going to grab an additional copy of Transmigration, which is pretty solid. Shadow Dragon then detaching to rank itself up into the number 107, which we need an animation for. Has one of Duel Links, get one in Master Duel. We're going to bring back the Galactic Spiral Dragon, then we're going to send Seifert grabbing the Cloud Dragon. Cloud Dragon then going to activate in the hand to summon itself, tributing itself to summon a Tachyon monster from the deck or graveyard, summoning out the Primal. Primal then searching the third and final copy of Transmigration. 3 Omni Negates ready to go, and not just any Omni Negate, possibly the best form of Omni Negate in the game. We are going to give one up here for the Lebellion because they do want to vary our interruption to some extent. We're going to go for Magnomet now, banishing the Cloud Dragon to summon itself, triggering the search during the end phase before tributing itself off for the Lebellion. Lebellion then going to set up Branded Regain for some follow-up. Now we're going to go for Seifert. Seifert going to banish itself to recycle back the Infinity Dragon back to hand, which is going to then in turn trigger Regain to draw us an additional card. Grabbing an additional copy of the Primal from the deck is pretty neat. Now we're going to go for a rank 8. We're of course going to go into number 38, the Hope Harbinger Dragon. Now using the Nebula Dragon, we're going to summon it and the Infinity Dragon to bring out 2 additional level 8s to go into another rank 8 monster. We're going to go into a second Hope Harbinger because it is not once per turn. And we're going to pass. We're going to keep these guys in hand for follow-up. So the reason we keep Primal in hand, Primal can summon itself to our field as a quick effect in order to search our deck for a third copy of Transmigration. So this card is basically a third Transmigration. And of course we got the Baldric and such in here as well. Can anyone in the class tell me what my mistake was here? Our opponent with a Despian field, branded sleeves, branded profile picture, has just activated Fusion Deployment. What do they do with Fusion Deployment? We're going to chain Primal here. Tell me what happens. So we're going to summon our Primal. Primal then going to activate to search our deck for a card. They're going to reveal Mirror Jade, and they're going to summon the Fallen of Albaz. Okay, Fallen of Albaz, it's got a fusion effect. You know, you can discard a card to fusion summon using one of my monsters. I'll just negate it. And then he doesn't activate it. I'm like, okay, well he must know that I'm going to negate it, and he doesn't want to discard a card in order to, you know, just go negative on card advantage. That makes sense. That's fine. He's just going to use it as a name. Can anyone tell me the typing of all of the monsters on my field? Because he can. It's Dragon. Fuses the whole field away into Albal and Addis. It's locals all over again when I went to locals with Synchrons and somebody contact fused my field into Albal and Addis. It's fine. We don't have anything left. But we're gonna try. We're not gonna give up. That's fine. Contact Fusion Albalas hurts my damn feelings, but we'll get over it. We're gonna go Branded Regain to help try and draw an additional card. We just draw in the Cypher, which isn't very good right now. So right now we're in a position where we're going to try to stop our opponent with just a Baldric, which is not filling me full of confidence. We've already even used the effect of Branded Regained. Then he just goes for the Branded Fusion, and I realize here that no matter what happens at this stage, I cannot stop a Albion from going in the Mirror Jade, which means he will definitely have lethal damage through a Baldric just by banishing this card off my field, and we call it quits. So this one showed off a lot of the combos of the cards. It showed off how, you know, crazy powerful some of the combos were and how pretty good, you know, your RAM boards can be, but unfortunately, you just have to be ready. Alrighty, getting into our fourth and final replay. Definitely a bit of a different one because we're making exactly 0 plays on our first turn. We hard bricked. But let's see what happens. We're going to send Rhino Heart to Graveyard off of the Foolish Burial. We're going to go for Max C. Now again, anytime you have Max C in your hand, even if you're going you go first and you touch totally pass, Max C is that kind of card. So we're going to activate it. We're going to try our luck. We're going to see what happens. We've currently only got an Ash Blossom, and right now we can't really afford to blow interruptions for no reason. We need to be very deliberate about this. So he's going to go for these two then. Fusion Summon into the Kit Kalos, which is pretty standard for Tearlaments. We top deck into Baldric. That's good. Part of the reason I was happy to sit in this matchup is knowing that he's playing Tearlaments and I've got Max C active means that I could possibly top deck into Bystials, and it looks like on this occasion we did. He's going to go for Sheeran here. We're going to meet the Sheeran with the Baldric, so definitely a huge blow to our opponent. They've now used both of their fusion effects, and all they have to show for it is a Kit Kalos. They're going to send the kit to summon the Kashtira Tearlaments. That's going to mill them an additional 8 cards. 8 cards is a lot of mills. So we're going to get milling now. We're going to mill 3 off the Tearlaments Kashtira, and then 5 off the Kalos, and he mills a few useful cards, including enough fusion materials for Branded in White. Branded in White then going to fusion summon into Albion, the Branded Dragon. Albion, the Branded Dragon, then going to activate to conduct an additional fusion summon, but now he's only got 1 copy of the Fallen of Albaz in the graveyard, so an additional Bystial here in the form of Magnomet taking out the Shrouded Dragon means that he once again does not have sufficient materials for a noticeable fusion summon. So we're going to go into the Despian Quiritis, which is now making me a little nervous because I did put my monsters in attack mode, which is perhaps not the greatest move I've ever made. Both Magnomet and Tragedy going to be searching here. They're going to go for Alibur. That's totally fine. Despian Quiritis going to reduce all of the attack points down. Now they're going to go for Alibur, the Jester of Despia. Alibur going to search their deck, of course, for the Branded Fusion. Now they're going to go for Branded Fusion, and we're going to use that Ash Blossom we've been saving this entire time. So we've had our opponent here with a total of 3 interruptions here that we've drawn, 2 of which we drew off of Max C. Into the battle phase, he is just going to take his licks. He's going to go 25 and 25, taking out our 2 Bystials, bringing us pretty low, 18 to the face. We got 1,200 life points left. It's not looking great. It's looking a little dicey for you, boy. We're going to go Branded in High Spirits, but we did manage to survive the turn, which means we are definitely in with a shot of winning. We're going to go Lebellion off of our Magnomet here, just for the additional level 8 capacity. They're going to go Fusion Duplication. We're going to go for Max C yet again. Although admittedly he is likely only going to summon once or twice here, every extra card we can grab is going to be of an incredible amount of value. Going to send Albaz and the Cartesia to the graveyard to go into Albion, the Sanctifier Dragon. Totally fine. We're going to go main 1 here. We're going to go Bystial Lebellion, dropping into the graveyard, grabbing ourselves a copy of Drisser and the final Bystial that is in our deck. 7th Ascension then, going to search our deck for 7th Tachyon. 7th Tachyon then going to activate. We're going to grab a card from our deck here. We're going to grab the Cloud Dragon while shuffling back the Galaxy Journey. Galaxy Journey, definitely a bit of a win more card. Maybe something you want to consider cutting, but we'll talk about that later. We're going to go Cloud Dragon from hand, tributing it to summon off the Galaxy Eyes Tachyon Primal, which is being met with a Tearlaments Suliac, which he did search off of the Tearlaments Kikalos, that's the name. Kikalos did search then, so we knew that was going to happen, milling an additional 2 cards off the Tearlaments Kashtira. Now going for the Infinity Dragon, which we can use if our opponent controls a monster that has 2,000 or more attack points. We are going to meet him with a 3rd and final Bystial. This time we did search for it, so we are going to be getting rid of the Fallen of Albaz, preventing an additional contact fusion during our turn. So now we're going to be going into the Dragluxion. Dragluxion then going to search our deck for an additional Tachyon card, just grabbing an additional Tachyon Transmigration. Now we're going to use its effect to detach 2 materials to rank itself up into number 107. Now with 107 on the board, our board just became infinitely safer given the fact that we have 2 copies of Transmigration. Now we're going to tribute off the Drissworm for the Lebellion. Drissworm then targeting the Albion. We're saving the Coritis to last because we don't want to be dealing with this card just yet. Fallen of Albaz is still technically a threat. I don't know if he has an additional one in his deck or not. We're going to go for number 62, the Prime Photon Dragon, ranking this up into number C62, the Galaxy Eyes Prime Photon Dragon. Coritis then going to attempt to reduce our attack points down. This is exactly what we were waiting on because now we can negate him and send him back to the deck, not to the graveyard, which means he does not summon a Fallen of Albaz. We're going to go for number 62, detaching a material. Now he gets to attack up to 3 monsters during this turn. 1000 over the Sanctifier, 2200 over the Aliber, 3000 from the number 107, and Lebellion for the finish. So, pretty good game. Of course, Maxi is not a card that should be legal. The fact that I won this is a crime against humanity and should not be tolerated. If Maxi wasn't legal, different format, different deck, different whatever. But anyways, I still thought that was a pretty interesting game. I still enjoyed it a lot. And yeah, being contact fused in the previous game was one of the worst experiences of my life. So a little bit of vindication against Branded is a nice way to feel better about myself. And here we have it. This is the list, and this deck is a lot of fun. As you can see from the gameplay, it's not like a crazy complicated 14-step process to get to like and negate, right? Like a lot of decks out there. All of the cards are fairly self-sufficient, and there's not really a lot of bad cards in the list. Everything just kind of does its job, and it's a nice sort of simple deck that does nice things, that puts up decent interruption, and I love in particular the forms of interruption. I think Tachyon Transmigration, calling this a negate is a crime. This card is so good. Being able to negate every opponent's card in a chain, being able to chain it to your own cards to prevent your opponent from chaining more cards, being able to use additional cards in your own chain, self-chaining other cards to your own to bait additional interaction from your opponent in one chain. Again, think about all the times where you've been like going back and forth with an opponent. You've activated a card, then they have, then you have, then they have, then you have, then they have, and then you go Transmigration, you negate 3 cards and shuffle them all back to the deck. This card's nuts. To call this a negate is a crime. And this is the card that sort of makes this whole deck work. And this is the payoff, right? Now, there are also additional pretty powerful cards that are going to be part of your inboards. You got the Hope Harbinger here, which is pretty solid. This is the other major piece. And unlike a lot of decks in the format, this deck has more tools for going second and for OTKing than what it actually does for going first. The tools for going first are pretty powerful, and in a format like this, if you can go first, you will, because ultimately your tools for OTKing will work just as well on turn 3 as they will on turn 2. So if you can go first, weaken your opponent's board by having your own board set up, and then on your turn go into your number 62 to punch your opponent in the face, you're gonna do that, right? So while the deck can technically go second, in a deck like this that has the ability to put up a semi-decent board going first, get almost guaranteed to survive in the turn 3, and then having the gas to go for a pretty big OTK after that is definitely better than playing the deck blind second. At least that's what I think. But yeah, it has a ton of tools for going first in the form of negates and number 38 and such. There are probably other dragons and such that I'm not considering that would likely be pretty useful as well. There's a lot of flex space in this extra deck, I'm going to be perfectly honest. So if you can think of other dragons that may be useful, then by all means you can put those in. There's a lot of cards in here that do not get used or even sometimes cannot be used. So yeah, just a great deck. It's a deck that is simple, it's fun, it's good. It's very expensive. Admittedly, it is a little pricey. But outside of that, it's fine. Plus, some of these cards are splashable, like 7th Ascension and 7th Tachyon. I get it. 6 URs right off the bat makes you want to throw up. Not a good vibe. However, these URs are definitely splashable into pretty much any Exceed deck, or indeed any deck that does not need to take significant advantage of their extra deck. So the one that springs to main immediately is Stun. But there are a number of other decks that do not need their extra decks and such can use these cards as search materials. So they're not cards you're going to use very often, but if you want to play other Exceed-based strategies, think like Sharks and things like that, then you're definitely going to want to play these cards in those decks as well. So these are not a massive waste, and with Ryziel coming out eventually, 7th Tachyon and 7th Ascension are going to be really, really good consistency tools in Ryziel. So if you see yourself playing Ryziel in the future, definitely good cards to pick up. So if we remove the Tachyon, the 7th Ascension, and the 7th Tachyon, if you remove the 7th cards, the deck actually becomes pretty affordable. Because a lot of the cards are available, like again, number 62 was available in a structure deck. You should have this guy from a giveaway, assuming you had the game at that stage. If you didn't, suck to suck, but they gave this card away for free for a lot of people. A lot of these other cards are available in structure decks. So yeah, it's really quite reasonably priced if you remove the 7th cards. And I would remove these because there's going to be a top tier deck that's going to be using these. So they're a very good investment. And there's a lot of other fun strategies that also use these cards. Sharks springs to mind, but I'm sure there's others as well. So yeah, enough rambling. Let's talk about the list itself. So, starting off with the hand traps and the additional sort of cards, let's remove all of those now so you can get an idea as what the list actually looks like. So we got the one of Veiler just because it's a light monster and it's a nice cross-out target. We got our double Max C, of course. I'm playing double Ogre. Double Ogre has been nice to me. Again, I wanted to keep the deck as sort of light dark themed as possible. Because we are playing Bestials, and Ogre is just a really, really good hand trap. So I think it's a lot better than the likes of Imperm right now. Depending, I suppose, on how you look at it. So Ogre is definitely, you know, it's a choice, but again, if you're a free-to-play player, you can get one of these cards for free from the value pack, so you should have at least one. So I would throw it in if you have it, but it is totally optional. Ogre has just been very, very useful. Ash Blossom is great for Max C. Then we've got Called By, and we've got Crossout, and I'm also going to count Galaxy Journey here. Galaxy Journey is pretty cool in combination with the Bestials, but I'm good. Well, I guess, again, in combination with Nebula Dragon as well, it's pretty neat. It's nice. It's a good card. I just think it's not good enough to justify being a brick. So I would probably cut Galaxy Journey in for another hand trap. So yeah, so there's 12 slots. You know, not the most hand traps. So yeah, so 12 slots, not the most hand traps in the world, right? Not, you know, 50% hand traps or anything like that, but definitely reasonable. Definitely more than some other lists, and there's some wiggle room in terms of numbers and such. So personally, I'm a pretty big fan of this. Going through what's left, we've got the 3 copies of Seifert and 3 copies of Cloud Dragon. Seifert is here almost exclusively to go into the Cloud Dragon, because this card is basically Poplar. Seifert also having the ability to... So for those who don't know what Seifert does, this card can send dragons from your hand or field to the graveyard in order to add to your hand a dragon whose level is the same as the total levels of the sent monsters. So normally it's going to send itself as a level 4 to search for the level 4 Tachyon Cloud Dragon. It can, however, if you happen to have a spare level 8 dragon in your hand, or if indeed you have 2 level 4s that you do not need, you can send the 8 or the 2 4s to the graveyard to grab another level 8 dragon. Something like the Nebula Dragon is especially useful off of this effect. Sometimes the likes of the Infinity Dragon is a little bit clunkier, especially going first when it comes to utilizing the effect in that regard, so you're more often going to use it for something like Lebellion or Nebula Dragon, or maybe even on occasion the Tachyon Primal. But primarily, these two will be your level 8 targets for Seifert, although 99% of the time you're going to be sending itself for Cloud Dragon. So while that's not a massive concern, it is definitely worth noting that you can do that. Given the deck's ability to recycle dragons from the graveyard and banish pile, it's definitely not unreasonable to suggest that you could have a Nebula Dragon in your graveyard, for example, banish it for its effect, and then recycle this card back to hand to be used as discard fodder. So yeah, whole lot of considerations there, but 99% of the time it's safer than the Cloud Dragon. So Cloud Dragon, when added to hand, will summon itself, and you can tribute itself then to summon the Tachyon Primal from your deck or graveyard, or indeed number 107 from your graveyard like you saw in one of the replays. So into turn 3, turn 4, sometimes it's useful just to bring this card back from the graveyard so you have its name, which will immediately make any Tachyon transmigrations you have in hand or field alive right away. And sometimes that's just worth it. We got the Bestial package, Magnomet, Dressworm, Baldrake, plus the 1 Lebellion and the 1 Regained. Just solid interruption overall. Magnomet being able to search for dragons is nice. Lebellion as a level 8 light dragon fits the theme perfectly. Being able to go into a level 8 like that is good. I think just 1 copy has been fine. You could run more Lebellion if you really wanted to, but I'm gonna be honest, 1 has been fine. And remember, virtually every card in this deck is searchable off of your 7th Tachyon. So if you really wanted to put your hands on Lebellion, you absolutely can. So I think 1 of this card is fine. Nebula Dragon and Galactic Spiral Dragon. These 2 are the sort of 8 axes cards that we're playing. Nebula Dragon can summon itself in an additional level 8 dragon from the hand, but it does lock you into light and dark dragons for the rest of the turn, which really isn't that much of a problem. And it can also banish itself from the graveyard to grab a level 4 light or dark dragon from your graveyard to hand. So this card's really, really good whenever you've got a handful of level 8s, especially in situations where you've already got a monster on the field and cannot then resolve the effect of the Infinity Dragon, which we will get to in a minute. So Nebula serves some pretty niche situations, and Galactic Spiral is similar but different. Galactic Spiral can summon itself from the graveyard if you control 2 or more light or dark dragons. Bear in mind the level of the monsters you control does not matter. This could be a Seifert and a Primal, right? It could be a 4 and an 8. It does not have to be 2 8s, but it will summon itself back from the graveyard if you control 2 dragons. And you can also make all monsters you control become level 8. So if you do have a situation where you have a Cloud Dragon and a Primal, you bring back Galactic Spiral. Galactic Spiral makes your Cloud Dragon into an 8, which is infinitely more useful. Doesn't come up very often, virtually never, but I'm just saying it's something that can happen. Just bear it in mind. This card is especially useful as a target off of the Infinity Dragon, which will summon a monster from deck. So detaching this card off your Dragluxion and putting it into the graveyard as a free extender, which can then come back from the graveyard using its own effect inherently, is exceptionally useful. The fact that it's supposed to banish itself when it leaves the field is fake news. Whenever you use a monster's Exceed material and then you detach that monster as material from later on, the monster does not count as having left the field, which means it does not get banished, meaning it just goes back to the graveyard to be reused again next turn. So yes, it basically an infinitely reusable Galactic Spiral Dragon is a pretty nice resource. 2 copies of Tachyon Primal. This card is, of course, the GOAT. You summon this card directly from deck off a Cloud Dragon, or you can add it to hand, or I'm going to be honest, you summon this card in like 99 million different ways. It's the easiest card in the world to just fucking throw around. You can even summon it to your opponent's field, right? You summon this card however and wherever and whenever you want. So this card on summon, the owner of this card searches for a Tachyon spell or trap card from deck to hand. And the reason that matters is that this card can special summon itself to either side of the field from the hand as long as you control the Dragon Exceed monster. So you can summon it to your side of the field to use its search, and then you can summon it to your opponent's side of the field, and because your opponent has not used the effect of this card to search your deck for the Tachyon spell or trap card, your opponent then is forced to activate that effect, which searches you an additional card because you're still the owner of the card. So you can use this card search effect twice per turn. Once by summoning it to your field, and the second time by summoning it to your opponent's field. Pretty cool. If an Exceed monster declares an attack, this card as a mandatory effect will attach itself onto that card as material. So if you do end up equipping it onto your Exceed material as a monster, it will... Sorry, if you summon it to your opponent's field, I should say, and all you need to do is declare an attack with an Exceed monster, and it will immediately attach itself from your opponent's field onto your dragon as material. And because the effect happens at attack declaration, it means you can redeclare your attack afterwards. So you don't need to worry about losing your attack or giving up your attack just to absorb this card. Really good card overall, very well designed. It's an interesting design. The way they played it is super cool. It's very unique. It's very, very, very unique. The card gives me weird vibes, but it's really cool. I like it a lot. I like it a lot. The Infinity Dragon is your best starter card. As a Dark Dragon, it's very easy to search for this card off of the likes of 7th Tachyon and such, which is pretty neat. The Infinity Dragon can summon itself in the hand and then special summon a monster, a level 8 lighter Dark Dragon from your deck in defense. As long as either A, you control no monsters, or B, if your opponent controls a monster with 2,000 or more attack points. Which means going first, you basically have to start your turn with this card, or going second, as long as your opponent has a strong enough monster, you can summon it anyway. Doesn't matter. So it's a little bit picky, which means sometimes when it comes to your combos, if you're starting with any card outside of the Infinity Dragon, oftentimes you're going to want to pivot more towards resources like your Nebula Dragon and such, in order to actually get the most out of your turn. So just do bear in mind that while it is your best starter card, it is not always a card you want to get access to if you've already begun your combo through other means, unless you're confident you can wipe your own field without putting yourself at a disadvantage. So just, bear that in mind. So yeah, it doesn't really do anything. I thought for a second it had a second effect, but it doesn't. It just Exceed locks you, which is fine. This card also Dragon Exceed locks you. So between this guy Dragon locking you and Nebula Dragon locking you and such like that, oftentimes cards like the Photon Lord are unsummonable, which is the reasons why you might want to cut this card. I'll get to that in a minute. The 7th Ascension and 7th Tachyon. 7th Ascension searches for 7th Tachyon. 7th Tachyon grabs any monster in your deck, basically. It reveals a monster in your extra deck, and then you can grab a monster whose level matches its rank that shares a typing or an attribute. So basically, for any of your level 4s, you're going to reveal the number 102 because it is a light level 4 that is a fairy, so it shares attribute and rank, not typing. When it comes to any of your light dragons, you're going to reveal the Droglubion, which matches the rank and the typing, not the attribute. And for any of your dark dragons, you're going to reveal any of your light dragons. So fucking 107 or any of these guys, right? So you can effectively search for any card in your deck, which is the main reason Draglubion's even here, to be honest, although admittedly I never really use 7th Tachyon to search for a light dragon. 99% of the time it's searching for the Infinity Dragon or it's searching for Cloud Dragon. So it doesn't come up super often, but you can effectively search for any monster, any of the dragons in your deck outside of the level 6 Bestials. Of course, if you wanted to adjust your extra deck, you absolutely could find I dare say there's a rank 6 dark monster you can just put in your extra deck in the place of Photon Lord to make even these Bestials searchable off of 7th Tachyon, which is something that I'm now at this very moment thinking about. So there you go. Everything in the deck can be searched for off of 7th Tachyon. It's pretty good. Revelation of Hope, a brand new spell card. You send a face-up level 8 dragon to the graveyard to immediately summon a rank 8 dragon from the extra deck. That, of course, is meant to be the Hope Harbinger, because the Hope Harbinger does not need to have Exceed materials to activate its spell negate. You don't need to detach anything from this card, so the idea is that Revelation of Hope is going to be used to summon the Hope Harbinger. You would have seen that one coming. Because it does not require Exceed materials, and you can then after that go into number S38 if you're going second or if it's turn 3 or whatever. So Revelation of Hope is a really good card. I'm very tempted to play multiple of it. I don't like that it isn't searchable, and it is a hard one per turn. So there are going to be situations where you regret seeing it, but I definitely think the card is powerful enough to merit additional copies, to be honest. So I'm still on the fence on that one, but we'll see. And then the last card is Transmigration, which I've been yapping about this whole fucking video. Into the extra deck. So which of these cards actually matter? Number 107, I would recommend having 2 of this, but you can get away with 1 copy of it. This card is mandatory, you need to have it. Star Seraph you need to have as a 7th Ascension target, but it's rare, it's whatever. Hope Harbinger, at least 1 copy. I think 2 copies is way better, because now, especially with the advent of Revelation of Hope, you can easily summon 2 copies of this card. And you'll need 1 copy of Drogluxion, and the rest of the extra deck is very optional. Now, a couple of things, of course, that I would suggest. the Galaxy Eyes line, of course, is a no-brainer, right? Prime Photon and C Prime Photon for the OTK potential, I think, is virtually mandatory. And then you've got the Full Armor Photon Dragon and the Cypher Blade Dragon, which, again, are really good turn 2, turn 3, popping additional cards, having a shitload of attack points. Again, I think it's a no-brainer. Number S38, not mandatory, but after having played it, would play again. Cards really, really good. So, all in all, you do have a little bit of flex space. In terms of some of the other additions, Numeron Dragon and Droglubion. Droglubion as a dark dragon is basically just a way of searching for light dragons off of 7th Ascension, but the ability to go into the Numeron Dragon is definitely very good as well. We've got something that I was just thinking about as I was recording this, and by that I mean the second half of this recording got corrupted and I'm re-recording it, was Lars. Lars is a very good card in general, but most specifically it is a rank 6 dragon monster that is not dark attribute, and the reason that's important is it means that you can use 7th Tachyon to search for any of your regular bestials. Which I can't imagine is going to come up very often, but in a world where you've already used the Bestial Lobelion's effect, and you really want to get access to one of these guys, having the option is not bad, and you're really not losing very much in terms of space. Like I said, you've got a couple of spots that, honestly, on my list, I would want to change. The Photon Lord and the second copy of the Drogluxion, I don't think does anything in this list whatsoever. So yes, having Lars in here as a method of searching for your other bestials, I think is definitely the way to go. And then whatever last card you want. So if you have any particular text, especially for the extra deck, that you would like to let me know about, let me know down below. I know some people play the Galaxy Satellite Dragon for its effect. I know it has an effect from the graveyard. Let me see. During the opponent's end phase, take a card top of the deck. Take one card from your deck and place it on top of your deck. That's only if it's on the field. That also has a graveyard effect, doesn't it? During the battle phase, you can banish this card from your field or graveyard and target a number monster whose original type and attribute are lighter dragon. And until the end of the battle phase, its attack becomes equal to the value of the number in its name multiplied by 100. Now, of course, if you were to look at the likes of number 107, that suddenly becomes 10,700 attack points. So some people do play the Satellite Dragon because of the way Drogluxion's effect works. And Drogluxion equips a Galaxy monster from your extra deck to the monster that it summons, meaning the Satellite Dragon gets equipped directly onto the 107. At the beginning of the battle phase, you activate 107's effects, detach the Galaxy Satellite Dragon, then Galaxy Satellite Dragon activates in graveyard to buff boost the 107. So this is probably the card that I would replace my second copy of Drogluxion with, so definitely worth considering. You don't have to play it, it's a little bit gimmicky. I feel like going into the battle phase, I rarely use the effect of 107 because I'm often going into the battle phase with other super powerful OTK tools such as the Prime Photon Dragon, and I would really rather negate my own monster's effects. So do with that information as you will. I've covered off pretty much everything I want to, so if you've got any suggestions, ideas, quips, or anything else, make sure you leave them below. You can check one of the 2 videos listed above me now, one of which is my most recent video, and the other one is One of which is my most recent video, and the other one is one that YouTube thinks you will like the most. So definitely worth having a look to see if you do. That's pretty much everything from me. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.